Subscribe to Sinister Shadows Studio, The Unanswered Call. In 2012, I was a college student, juggling a part-time job, studies, and a mostly non-existent social life. I lived in an old apartment complex on the edge of town, surrounded by a dense forest, which was a major source of unease on most nights. One evening, after a particularly grueling shift, I got home close to midnight. My phone buzzed. I pulled it out and squinted at the screen. Unknown caller. Usually, I'd ignore such calls, but something compelled me to answer. The voice on the other end was a woman's, shaking and desperate. "Is this James?" she whispered. My blood froze. "Yes, who is this?" "Listen," she said, urgency dripping from her voice. "You don't know me, but I need you to lock all your doors and windows, now." I felt an involuntary shiver. "What? Why? Who are you?" "There's no time to explain. Just do it." Call it intuition, call it the conviction in her voice, but I immediately locked my front door. I sprinted from window to window, locking them, before drawing the blinds. The next call to make was 911, but my phone buzzed again before I could. Unknown caller. "Is everything locked?" she asked. "Yes," I whispered, looking out one of the blinds, half expecting someone to be standing there. "Who are you and why are you telling me this?" "I can't tell you who I am," she responded, "but you're in danger. There's someone in your building. Someone who shouldn't be there." I felt my heart rate quickening. "Who? And how do you know all this?" Silence for a beat. Then, "I can see him." My eyes darted around, my paranoia skyrocketing. "Where are you?" "Close. That's all I can say. Stay quiet and don't make any noise. The police will be there soon." She hung up, leaving me alone with my racing thoughts. Moments felt like hours. Every creak, every distant noise from the outside world felt like it was right beside me. I crouched in the darkest corner of my living room, holding a baseball bat, praying for the flashing lights of a police car. Another call. Unknown caller. "He's at your door," she whispered, her voice trembling even more now. I crawled to my peephole and dared a glance. Sure enough, there stood a tall, broad figure, draped in dark clothes, trying the doorknob. Every instinct screamed at me to stay hidden, but my unknown guardian angel had been right so far. Following another hunch, I activated the voice recorder on my phone. Then, in the loudest, most authoritative voice I could muster, I shouted, "I have a gun. Leave now or I will shoot." The figure froze. Moments later, he walked away. When the police finally arrived, they conducted a sweep of the area. The man was nowhere to be found. They took my statement, listened to the recording, and were especially interested in the mystery caller who'd saved me. Over the next week, the pieces came together in a chilling puzzle. The unknown man was a suspect in a series of break-ins and assaults across the state. His MO? Sneaking into people's houses late at night. But there was another twist. A week after the incident, an envelope arrived at my apartment. Inside was a handwritten letter and a photograph. The picture showed my apartment complex from a distance, taken from somewhere within the forest. The letter read, "Dear James, I hope you're safe. I saw him, I always do. They never know I'm watching. I've seen many things from the trees. Things I wish I could forget. But this time, I had to intervene. Don't try to find me. Just know that sometimes, the woods have eyes, and they watch over you." A friend I moved out shortly after, never feeling comfortable near those woods again. To this day, I don't know who was more terrifying, the intruder at my door or the watcher in the woods who'd seen fit to save me. It's been years, and every unknown call still sends shivers down my spine, reminding me of that fateful night and the mysterious guardian who watched from the shadows. The night drive. Several years ago, while I was in college, I had one of the most chilling experiences of my life that still haunts me to this day. I attended a university about 4 hours from my hometown. One weekend, after a long-awaited visit to my family, I decided to head back to campus late in the evening to prepare for a Monday morning exam. Around 10 p.m., I loaded up my old car and began the journey, expecting a relatively peaceful drive back, courtesy of the almost empty highways at this hour. For the first half of the trip, everything was normal. The road stretched out in front of me, illuminated only by my headlights and the occasional car passing in the opposite direction. My radio was playing softly in the background, providing a comforting sound amid the silence of the night. However, about 2 hours in, I noticed a pair of headlights in my rearview mirror, getting closer. Thinking it was just another car passing through, I didn't pay much attention. But then, something felt off. The vehicle, a black sedan, seemed to be tailing me, matching my speed and maintaining a very close distance no matter how much I sped up or slowed down. Growing uneasy, I decided to take the next exit and stop at a gas station, hoping the car would continue on its way. As I pulled off, the sedan followed. My heart raced. Parking near the station's entrance, where it was well lit, I remained in the car. The sedan parked a few spots away, its headlights still on, but no one got out. I quickly dialed the local police, explaining the situation. They told me to stay put and that they'd send a patrol car. As I waited, the sedan's engine revved loudly, but it didn't move. Suddenly, my phone buzzed, startling me. It was an unknown number. Hesitating for a moment, I answered. A raspy voice spoke. "Nice car. It would be a shame if something happened to it. Or you." Frozen in fear, I watched as the black sedan's driver's side door opened, revealing a tall, shadowy figure. He didn't step out, just sat there, door ajar, watching me. It felt like an eternity, but in reality, only minutes passed before the bright lights of a police car appeared. The sedan's door slammed shut, and it sped away just as the officer pulled in. I gave a statement describing the car and the eerie phone call. The officer told me that there had been reports of a black sedan tailing other drivers over the past few weeks, but nobody had ever gotten a good look at the driver or the car's license plate. After ensuring I was okay and advising me to drive straight to campus without stopping, the officer left. The rest of the drive was a blur, my knuckles white from gripping the steering wheel. The next morning, after recounting the ordeal to my roommates, one of them, Claire, turned pale. She hesitated, then shared her own story. Just the week before, while driving back late from her boyfriend's place, she noticed a black sedan following closely behind her for miles. She'd been too scared to stop, and after what felt like hours, the car finally turned away, leaving her shaken but unharmed. She never reported it, thinking it was just a weird coincidence. We realized the description of the car and the tactics matched perfectly. The events of that night and Clary's story became a dark cloud over our college days. Every time either of us drove at night, we couldn't shake the feeling of being watched or followed. The police never caught the driver, and no more incidents were reported after that semester. Perhaps he moved on, or maybe something else happened to him. We'll never know. To this day, I still get chills thinking about that night, always left wondering about the true intentions of the mysterious sedan's driver and feeling grateful that I never had to find out. Whispers in the walls. My family and I moved into a lovely old Victorian house when I was in my early teens. While its age was evident from the creaky floors and the slightly slanted walls, it was charming in its own unique way. Located in a quaint little town with friendly neighbors, it felt like the perfect home. However, things began to get weird about a month after we moved in. I started hearing whispers late at night. The sounds weren't distinguishable words, but more like hushed voices carrying a conversation in a language I couldn't understand. My bedroom was located right at the end of the hallway on the second floor, and the voices seemed to be coming from inside the walls surrounding my room. The first few times I dismissed it as a product of my imagination, or the house settling. But as days turned into weeks, the whispers grew louder and more frequent. On certain nights, they were accompanied by soft knocks, 3 at a time, echoing from within the walls. I finally mustered the courage to tell my parents. My dad, a staunch rationalist, brushed it off as old house noises, while my mom suggested maybe it was the wind or some nocturnal animals in the walls. However, they agreed to swap rooms with me for a night to put my fears to rest. The next morning, They reported a peaceful night without disturbances. Feeling a bit embarrassed, I moved back to my room, convincing myself it was all in my head. But the whispers returned, now more pronounced. Feeling desperate, I decided to record them one night on my phone. To my horror, upon playback, I could clearly hear multiple voices and those eerie knocks. Armed with my evidence, I once again approached my parents. Listening to the recording, they couldn't deny it anymore. Their expressions shifted from skepticism to concern. We invited a local historian, Mrs. Green, to shed some light on our home's past. What she told us made our blood run cold. In the late 1800s, the house served as a secret meeting place for a cult-like group. They gathered in the hidden spaces between the walls, conducting ceremonies and rituals. The last known gathering led to a massive fire, trapping many members within the house. Their charred remains were found within the walls. Stunned, my family decided to have the house inspected. A team opened up a section of the wall in my room. What they found was both incredible and horrifying. A hidden chamber, large enough for a small group of people, filled with archaic symbols etched into the walls, burned remnants of wooden benches, and most chillingly, old faded photographs of people, their eyes scratched out. We decided it was best to move out. But before leaving, we had the house blessed by a local priest, hoping to bring peace to whatever spirits remained trapped there. Years have passed since then, but the memories of that house still haunt my dreams. The whispers, the knocks, and those eerie photographs serve as a grim reminder that sometimes old walls do more than just creak. They remember. Subscribe to Sinister Shadows Studio.